Last year, after week 1, we were picking up names like Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Gus Edwards, Brock Purdy, and those names were on a lot of championship rosters. This year, after week 1, heading into week 2, there are definitely some players that you need to pick up, but even more importantly, we're going to talk about some players that I believe are fool's gold. And we're going to encourage you not to waste your fab on the wrong players because there might be a better week coming up. Let's start with guys that should already be rostered in every league. J.K. Dobbins, Jerry Jeudy, Zach Charbonnet, Jameson Williams, who just went off. I love that guy. And then Brandon Cooks. These names should already be rostered. That's why we're not going to talk about them. But the first and really the most important player this week to pick up is, not a surprise, it's Isaiah Likely, rostered in 9% of ESPN leagues, 27% of Yahoo leagues. This is easily the biggest fantasy star, fantasy riser of week 1. 9 catches on 12 targets, 111 yards, a touchdown, 26 PPR points, and would have had over 30 if he just had that toe in. And really, this shouldn't be that big of a surprise because this team, the entire offseason, was very, very vocal on how much they love Isaiah Likely and how much they wanted him to be a pivotal part of the offense. So if you're playing in a league that utilizes fab, I'm willing to spend about 20 to 30% of my fab. However, I am well aware, and you need to know, that in your leagues, you're going to have to spend more than that to get Isaiah Likely, most likely. I didn't mean to make a pun there. But here's why I'm not willing to spend more than about 30%, because I believe Mark Andrews is still going to be a crucial part of this offense as well. I could see inconsistencies for Likely coming up. It would not surprise me at all if this time next week, we're talking about Mark Andrews in a bounce back game, and Likely still playing well, but maybe not a 26-point score type of game. And to me, it was very obvious that the Chiefs' entire game plan against the Ravens was to shut down Mark Andrews. And that's why they focused on him so heavily in coverage. Keep in mind, he just came off a car crash. He was limited in practice, and he had a lot of blocking duties versus one of the better defenses in the NFL. So look, I'm totally telling you, go get Isaiah Likely. If you have the number 1 waiver priority, he should be number 1. However, if you're in a fab league, I'm not willing to spend like 60% of my fab when I think there are better weeks coming up. And this is the part of the video where I have to be brutally honest with you guys. Likely is the only person I'm willing to splash the cash fab-wise this entire week. We're going to talk about names that you should pick up, but I don't think we should be splashing any more cash in fab leagues. Number 2, Wan'Dale Robinson, available in over 80% of platforms everywhere. Juan the Don with an impressive start to the 2024 season. He played just 67% of snaps, but led the team in targets with 11 and was targeted on 29.7% of his routes run compared to Malik Neighbors at 14%. So what does that mean? That does not mean Wan'Dale is the number 1 wide receiver in New York. Okay, clearly that's not what that means, but it does mean he's an important part of this offense, maybe the second most important piece behind Malik Neighbors. And even though he's not targeted downfield, in PPR leagues, he could be a reliable flex moving forward. But again, the fab percentage I'm willing to spend drops down drastically here. I'm only willing to spend about 5% of my fab on this name. All right, if you miss out on Isaiah Likely, this is what I plan to do. If you're really desperate, I'll put 35% of your fab on Likely. You might not get it, but we're going to put about 5% of our fab on Colby Parkinson to lock him up. He's available in over 90% of platforms everywhere. Here's the deal. Puka Nacua left this game around halftime with an injury. Now, I'm recording this right after Sunday Night Football, so I don't know how serious that injury is or not. But regardless, even if Puka's healthy, Tyler Higbee's not going to play for a long time. That already gave Colby Parkinson an in on a very good offense. And now if Puka is gone, he might be the second or third best target in this offense, connected to Matthew Stafford. In week 1, he had 5 targets, 4 catches, 47 yards, almost 10 PPR points. That's more than almost every one of the top tier tight ends that all of us played this week. There is more than enough rationale to go ahead and pick him up if you're a tight end needy team. I'm willing, again, to spend about 1 to 5% of my fab on a guy like Colby Parkinson. All right, the next 3 names we're going to talk about are running backs. So my 4A priority is Tank Bigsby, who's rostered in 5% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. For the first time ever, as a Travis Etienne truther, I can sit here and tell you guys that Tank Bigsby looks like a legit threat to Etienne's touches. And it's for a couple reasons. Number 1, he split carries down the middle with Travis Etienne 12 to 12 in a close game. This wasn't a blowout where they just put Tank Bigsby in because they were winning the game big. No. And secondly, he looked incredible on almost every touch, which wasn't the case at all last year. He had 12 carries, 73 yards, averaged over 6 yards per attempt. That is mental. Again, I'm only willing to spend about 1 to 5% of my fab on him. I still think it would take a Travis Etienne injury for him to become a startable name. However, if he keeps playing well, let's see. I mean, maybe his role could grow. All right, 4B here, another running back. This is sneaky. I think this is the cheapest of the running backs I'll talk about. Marshawn Lloyd, rostered in 26% on ESPN. 13% on Yahoo and 28% on Sleeper. This is more of a stash than anything, but do not sleep on Marshawn Lloyd, guys, okay? Day 2 NFL draft capital. A.J. Dillon out for the year. Emmanuel Wilson looked good in week 1, but this is the Marshawn Lloyd role if he gets back and healthy, and he could even expand that role because of the draft capital and the commitment from this team. And if Lloyd can stay healthy, there is a role for him. Look, the running backs have shared rushing attempts in the last 4 years under LaFleur. He just rotates those running backs. Again, I'm not willing to spend any percentage of my fab on this move, but I think he's a sneaky ad. All right, number 4C, the third running back tied for 4th is Justice Hill, available in a ton of leagues. There are pros and even more cons to picking up Justice Hill. I might get some hate for this, but again, I'm trying to steer you away from fool's gold. And I feel like Justice Hill is a little bit of fool's gold. Let's talk about the pros. In a 2-minute drill or negative game scripts, Justice Hill is going to be on the field often and he's going to be targeted. In week 1, we saw he got 6 targets in a negative game script. Here's the con. The Ravens aren't likely to be in many negative game scripts. In week 1, they just faced the best team in the NFL and maybe one of the best defenses in the NFL in the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember, this team won the most games in the NFL last year. So if this team is up and they're up big in some of these games, Justice Hill might not even be startable. So again, the last 3 running backs that we have just talked about, I am not willing to spend a high percentage of my fab on. If you're in a priority league, totally make them your priority in order. However, my issue is if you spend big fab on these players, I feel like in weeks 2 or weeks 3 or weeks 4, we could have even better waiver wire options and you will have wasted your fab on players that might not even be startable at any point this year. All right, my 7th priority this week would be Rashid Shaheed, who got off to a hot start in week 1 versus the Carolina Panthers. 2nd in snaps and in routes run, right behind Olave, but he led this team in targets with 5. However, again, I'm not willing to spend any big amount of fab on Rashid Shaheed. Why? Because you will simply never know when you can start this guy or when you cannot. He's a great guy to have in best ball leagues, but in traditional formats, I just don't think you'll ever know when to start him. And Shaheed isn't like some new high draft capital rookie guy ready to break out. We have seen him do this before. In fact, go look at week 1 last year in 2023. All right, we saw something similar. Rashid Shaheed in 2023, 5 games over 15 points. Awesome. But 10 games under 8 PPR points. It's basically Gabe Davis, but you don't have Josh Allen. Instead of Josh Allen, you have Derek Carr. Sorry, I'm not interested. Our 8th priority this week is Greg the Human Dortch, available in a lot of leagues. And look, this went exactly how every single one of us predicted in week 1. With this Cardinals team, we totally thought that Greg Dortch was going to get 27% of the target share, targeted 8 times, leading the team, and targeted on over 21% of his snaps, right? We all thought that, wait, no, we didn't. Well, it happened, all right? And now we have to decide what to do with it. At the moment, as annoying as it is for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, Dortch seems to be a true safety blanket. And in my opinion, this is like discount Wan'Dale Robinson. If you don't get Wan'Dale Robinson, put 0% of your fab on Greg Dortch and see if you can pick him up. Again, we are not spending big on some of these names. There's so much fool's gold here. I want you guys to be ready for other weeks. All right, the 9th priority for me this week, and this is very good actionable advice in my opinion. We're going to talk about a defense that you can stream, the Los Angeles Chargers, available in 90% of platforms. Why? Because they face the Carolina Panthers in week 2. And this will be by far the best streaming option this week. Bryce Young and the Panthers do not look like they're going to bounce back. We'll see. But in week 1, they faced the Saints, and the Saints had 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, 15 points. So I think this should be your priority ad if you're looking to stream defenses. And to finish off the stream, we'll just talk about some honorable mention stashes. If you guys are in deeper formats, Baker Mayfield, look, he had a great game, but he played them Commanders, who I told y'all this week is the worst secondary in the entire NFL. So it shouldn't be a surprise that he went off. Secondly, Jordan Whittington and Demarcus Robinson. If a report comes out by the time you're watching this that Puka Nacua is going to miss a bunch of time, those guys need to be on your roster. Bucky Irving, a fine ad if Rachaad White goes down. Keaton Mitchell, my favorite ad right now because you can pop him on the IR and still have another spot on your bench. Jalen McMillan looked great as a rookie in his debut. Jalen Naylor, if Jordan Addison misses time with that ankle injury. Tucker Kraft is really sneaky at tight end. If you just want to punt all the way down and get a free ad in Tucker Kraft, he dominated opportunities. He dominated snaps here in week 1 over Luke Musgrave. He is a sneaky name. Peyton Hendershot, if Jake Ferguson has a serious injury. Ricky Pearsall, Sam Darnold in deeper formats. Emmanuel Wilson, Alec Pierce, I don't think he's worth adding, but you might as well. And then Luke McCaffrey, who we might talk on a stash video this week. He was sneakily the second best wide receiver in Washington. So those are over 25 names that you can potentially add from your waiver wire. I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you guys want consistent in-season rankings that are always updated, then go ahead and use the promo code LAND. Become a Mother Flocker member on the Flock Fantasy website. Not only will you get our rankings, if you're a yearly member, you will get a team review. You will get the trade calculator, all the premium tools, the databases, every feature on that website. And of course, you're supporting us. You're keeping the lights on over here. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions over on Twitter. I appreciate y'all for watching. Remember, do not use your fab just because you feel like you have to. I promise you guys, I know for 100% certainty that there will be better waiver wire weeks in the future. I promise you, this is not the week to go hard for most of these names. I appreciate you watching. Drop a like, subscribe if you like the content, and we'll see you in the next one. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.